This is a story we're going to do in several parts, and the next few stories will be in parts because they're a little bit longer. And usually I tell them with older children because they involve all sorts of other things that they quite like. And this one is called Spinny Sparkle and Fishy Dishy. Now, it's based on a very old story, which you might be able to find somewhere. And prizes, well, a thumbs up if you can find out where the original was and let me know. So, once upon a time, a long time ago, even longer ago than last Tuesday, and even further away than Tesco's, there was a general stores. And the general stores was a little point of land opposite Falmouth in Cornwall on the Roseland Peninsula. Now, the general stores sold just about everything, and it supplied the local villages, and it supplied the local mines, and it supplied the local farms. In fact, anybody who needed anything went to Old Man Penaloona's general store. And he had 3 daughters, Meg, Peg, and Patsy, because they couldn't think of anything to rhyme with Meg and Peg. When I told that story just a few weeks ago, one of my grandsons shouted out, "Leg!" and everybody laughed. But I don't think she could have been called Leg. She was called Patsy. Although our older sisters called her Pasty because they didn't like her very much. And she seemed to get more attention than anybody else, and she seemed to be Dad's favourite. And they got jealous, and you know how things are between brothers and sisters sometimes. Now, Old Man Penaloona would replenish his stores occasionally by taking the long trip round to Falmouth. So he'd drive his cart and his horse, and he'd go all the way around to where the packet ships were coming in, and he'd do bartering trade down on the docks, and he'd go to the markets, and he'd fill up his cart, and he'd bring back all the different things that he needed. And each time he did that, he would go and talk to his daughters and say, "Is there anything you'd like me to bring you back?" Well, of course, the treat from Dad bringing something back from Falmouth was really to be desired. The older sister, Meg, said, "Oh, I would like a nice dress, Dad. I would like to impress Joe. He's from the mine up the road. And if I impress Joe, he might want to marry me." And then Peg nudged her in the side with her elbow. They went, "Oh, don't do that. I would like a nice necklace or a bit of jewellery that will make me look the best, because I quite fancy Joe too, and he's going to fancy me more than he's going to fancy you," she said to Meg. "Well, I'll see what I can do," said Dad. "Where's your sister?" "Oh, she's about somewhere." So Dad called for Patsy, and Patsy came. "Is there anything you'd like me to bring you back from Falmouth?" And Patsy, who was different to her older 2 sisters in many different ways, said, "Oh yes, Dad, I would like a fishy dishy and a spinny sparkle." "A fishy dishy and a spinny sparkle," he said. "Yeah, a fishy dishy and a spinny sparkle. It'll come to you if you look." Well, he was used to Patsy being a bit of a strange one, so he just smiled and gave her a hug, set off on his cart and drove down to Falmouth. Well, he had a lovely morning, lovely day in fact, going round. He got everything he needed. He got a dress for Meg, and he got some jewellery for Peg. Nothing very expensive, but it looked bright and sparkly, and he knew she'd like it. And then he looked for the fishy dishy and the spinny sparkle, and he hadn't got a clue. He went to the market, he went to all the little tiny antique shops, he went to all sorts of stuff. And just as he was about to leave, an old woman came out of one of the opes. Now an ope, that's one of the little passageways that comes out on the main street that goes down to the dockside. And there's several of them in Falmouth. I'll stick up a picture of one sometime. And she came out of one of these and she said, "Old man Petaluna." "Who is it wants me?" he said. "Well, I do. Or rather, you want me," said the old woman. "And how do you know my name?" "Ah, them's that ask no questions isn't told no lies," she said. Well, what do you want?" he said. "I got something for you," she said. And she pointed to the basket that she had hanging off her arm, covered in a sort of gingham cloth with red and white squares. She peeled back the cloth, and there on the top of the basket was a fish-shaped dish, and in it was a sparkly glass sphere, many little facets on it. And as it caught the sunlight, you could see the sparkles bounce around. "Well, that does look like what I need. How did you know?" "I know your Patsy needs it," she said, "and she will thank me herself one day. There you go, keep it safe." He took it from the old woman and tucked it away on his cart behind him, wrapped in some of the cloth to keep it safe. And he turned round to say, "Well, how much do I—" But she'd gone. She'd disappeared as if she'd never been there. Old man Petaluna set off for home, driving the long way back. And that's the end of this part of the story. Tune in for the next one later on.